So without further ado, I'll move into today's session, and thank you all for coming, and it's certainly an exciting topic, creating social marketing and engagement in powers. Please welcome Jason Dunstone.
Good morning. Thank you very much for coming on such a dark, early morning to a nice busy room at such an early time of the day. I went across the road to get a quick coffee before I started. I thought, 7 o'clock in the morning, I went across to the Chibo and it was closed, not open until 7:30, which too early. Went across the road to the other place, closed, not till 7:30. Managed to get a coffee across here, walked across, expecting it all to be empty, and the room was already half full, so I thank you very much for turning up. Hopefully you'll take a lot from my presentation and John's today, obviously. Mine's a bit more general. Mine's talking about, I guess, over the last 15 years through Square Holes and other research businesses, a perspective on what makes advertising work, but in particular social advertising. It's talking about attitude, behaviour change advertising. Hopefully I'll take you on a nice journey that will start off more generally and sort of give you a bit of focus right towards the end. Being early in the morning, I like to sort of treat this as a bit of a time for reflection. So I've got a little Buddha man up on the screen, and what I'd like you to do, whether it helps to close your eyes or bow your head or just have a short reflective moment while you're just nibbling away on your croissant about a bad habit you've got. Just on a personal level, I'm not going to ask you to stand up and confess like Alcoholics Anonymous, but just to think about a habit you've got, a bad habit you've got. It might be drinking, smoking, burping, sort of speeding, eating too much, whatever it might be. Just reflect on a bad habit you've got for, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds. It might come immediately to mind, or you might be somebody who's a little bit more squeaky clean and takes a little bit less time. So let's have a little bit of a reflective moment. Everybody sort of kicking away time. We'll put our bad habits entrenched in our mind. Now, I think it's just reflecting on these sort of things. So how long have you had this bad habit? Is it something you've had for a short while, or something you've had for 10 years, 20 years, since you're a child, since you're an early adult? How long have you been trying to break it? So if there's something you go, oh, I'm pretty happy, I know it's a bad habit, I get a bit buzzed about it, but I'm fine by it. How many people have told you to stop it? So your kids, your partner, your husband, your wife, your friends, your work colleagues, the government, the police, whoever it might be. So how many people have been telling you to stop it? How often have they nagged you? So how often are you getting those messages, either from the kids every morning saying, Dad, stop smoking, or Mum, you don't need another glass of wine, or whatever it might be. So how often have they nagged you? And why don't you listen? So it's trying to get down to that sort of heart of it, but why don't you listen? Why don't you care? So it's just sort of a reflective point. And I think it sort of comes about, I found this, it was listed as a proverb on a quote site. I quite liked it, particularly in an early morning start. Bad habits are like a comfortable bed, easy to get into but hard to get out of. And sort of get back to, I don't think this is Corey, but I think this is something that remotely like Corey in the press last year, sort of correcting his parents' house. We do a lot of research, I've conducted a lot of research over the years. This is obviously a young male, smoking. They'll talk about in their teenage years, I'm just smoking because it's a little bit cool and I like hanging out with my mates, but I'll give it up. I can sort of give it up, I'll stop it and I'll start it. And then they move a little bit further down the track and they get to their early 20s and they're a little different from somebody in their 40s or 50s. They're locked in, it's like an entrenched addictive behaviour. So they go from this point of saying, I'll quit when I'm ready, and then they just can't quit. So smoking is a great example that they'll move through. I'll quit when I finish school, I'll quit when I have a child, I'll quit when I get another job. And it's always, it moves, the goalpost keeps on moving. And I think that the real challenge when we're talking about social advertising and I guess advertising in general is we're not trying to influence a person like you. So you're creating advertising, you're not trying to create advertising that influences someone exactly like you. You're not trying to create a focal point of a Corey-like character. It's a broad cross-section of people you're trying to influence. So you're trying to influence people of different ages, for different reasons they've got that bad habit, maybe sort of longer entrenched, it might be a sort of a shorter term habit they've taken up. They may not receive any bugging about their habits, so it's going to vary quite broadly. So that's really a lot of the challenge. You're trying to influence different people. It's very, very entrenched. So you're not, I guess, when you get onto social advertising, you're not getting them to buy another product or to consume more of that product. What you're trying to do is to get them to change their habits. So they get bugged about so many things that they're probably doing not so well that it's really, it's a difficult challenge you're facing. So what makes good social advertising? And I'll raise at this point, this is my view, sort of looking at square holes as well. Over many years of looking at social advertising, I'd say about 60-70% of the work that we do is about government-related social advertising. Anything from smoking to drinking to bushfires to the list that Barry read out before. But we're talking about social advertising. So many of the principles still relate to other forms of advertising and marketing. I've said advertising, but it could be marketing, it could be digital, but it's really, I guess, our views of where it fits, or my views of where it fits. Yeah, that's probably good. I'm very much on, I guess, the simplicity of the topic. So what we sort of find over time, there's three sort of, I guess, bits of the donut that seem to make up good advertising. And it's probably overly simplistic. We're talking about early mornings. I don't want to sort of overwhelm with statistics, etc. But we tend to find these nice little patterns coming to complete the donut, if you like. And the creativity, commitment, and creativity, clarity, and commitment. So three key segments. I'll go through in a moment just to explain our perspective on that. And really, you might find, say, one advertising campaign might be great in the creativity side, might be great in the clarity side, might really get that message across, but they're just not committed to it. So it's really about having all of those segments of the donut, if you like, and creativity. So this is a nice definition of creativity I pulled from a website recently. I think it's probably dictionary.com I pulled it from. I think it's a nice definition that you find in any dictionary. And I like the second point. I think it says creativity is quite well. The ability to transcend traditional ideas, rules, patterns, relationships, or the like, and create meaningful new ideas, forms, methods, interpretations, etc. Originality, progressiveness, or imagination. The need for creativity in modern industry, creativity in the performing arts. So it gives us an idea of where, in our minds, what creativity actually is. Creativity. It's the most expensive painting ever sold, $140 million. Maybe sort of some people might judge it that's a little bit excessive, but Jackson Pollock, it's a nice creative piece of art. Some people might like it, but it's certainly sold for it. I think it's sort of the whole thing about pulling creativity into the marketing or advertising realm. And what we quite often will see is it's two extremes. So we'll see, on one extreme, we'll see great advertising. It's almost like it stands out. It's highly impressive. It just looks beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of very exciting. What we can find sometimes is it goes from one extreme, maybe not having this beautiful piece of art in advertising or marketing that looks fantastic, but sometimes it can be so fantastic there's actually no substance to it. So it looks fantastic, but it actually doesn't do what it intends to do. On the other extreme, there can be almost like this lazy, we don't want to push it hard enough. So either the client's not brave enough, or wants to sort of is concerned about any ramifications that might come through. This might be particularly in a government context, being concerned about somebody complaining about the ad, for example. So there might be on one extreme that we don't want to push it too hard, we're concerned about pushing this too hard, or maybe being a little bit lazy with the creativity side, or pushing it so hard that it's very clever, but there's actually not the content to it. You really want a middle point. So we're talking about like a nice little man on the screen balancing it. It's a balance between boldness and substance. So you need that boldness. So you need to be, if you're not bold, no one's going to notice. It's a bit like if you've got this cluttered landscape of people with sometimes quite big budgets. If you haven't got, we're largely going to talk about TV as a good example of advertising. I'm not saying TV is the only way to advertise. There's digital, there's radio, newspaper, but you can have I guess if you don't have the boldness, you don't stand out in that landscape. So if you don't shout loudly and try to sort of shock or do something a little bit different, you're not going to stand out. But that standing out needs to say something. And I guess the thing in advertising quite often you find people are they're not wanting to stop and think about what you're trying to say. So when you get to the substance, they're not wanting to look at it and go, make me think. Like say you might go to Jackson Pollock, they might look at it and think, what's it trying to say? What's it trying to get across? You're talking about advertising, they're looking at it, they don't get it, they'll move on, is what we find